Every time I cried, he sighed. Every time I opened up, he took notes not to help me, but to laugh about it later. When I first met Daniel, he didn't come across as toxic. He was calm, collected, the kind of guy who spoke softly and dressed like he had his life together. He didn't chase. He observed, and when he talked, he looked you in the eye like he could see things no one else did. He told me on our second date, "You're intense." I like that. It means you feel everything deeply. At the time, it felt like a compliment. Looking back, it was the first warning shot, because Daniel didn't really like how much I felt. He just liked how much I depended on his version of calm. 3 months in, I started noticing the pattern. I'd talk about my day, and he'd interrupt with, "You need to stop spiraling. It's not that serious." I'd express a fear or a boundary, and he'd say, "That's irrational. Try thinking like an adult." He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He just made me feel like I was constantly overreacting. And when I cried, he'd wait, in silence, cold, then sigh. "This is exactly what I mean. You drown in emotion." I started saying sorry before I even spoke, started shrinking my feelings into digestible pieces. He never told me I was crazy. He just asked, over and over again, if I was sure that what I felt was real. And when I got quiet, he called it growth. The worst part? I believed he was helping me. He read books about stoicism, sent me links to podcasts about emotional regulation, even bought me a journal saying, "It helps people like you process better." People like me. I didn't know what that meant at the time. Now I do. It meant people who cry, who care, who feel. People he can manipulate and then blame for the fallout. Then came the night it all shifted. We were at my apartment. I had just opened up about a family issue, something I never talked about with anyone. It had taken me weeks to say out loud. He didn't say much, just nodded, gave a half hug, and changed the subject. Later that night, I fell asleep on the couch. He asked to use my phone to order food. I said yes, half asleep. What I didn't notice, he stayed on it longer than he should have. And the next morning, I woke up and my laptop was open. I had forgotten to log out of WhatsApp web. There it was, his name in a private chat. Daniel contact name. She cried again last night. Full drama mode. My voice message, time stamped, from that exact conversation. Then, she's so reactive. It's like watching a case study. The girl replied, "Lamau, stop, you're evil." Then he sent a meme about emotional girls, captioned, "Every time she tries to open up, I felt my chest lock, like I'd fallen into a freezing bath." Everything I had confessed, everything I had whispered into his ear thinking I was safe was now a joke. A chat thread, a running gag between him and who? A co-worker? An ex? A friend with benefits? I didn't know. I just knew that the man who told me to be less reactive was mocking every moment I was real. I closed the laptop. I didn't scream, didn't confront. I just sat there, in silence. Not because I was weak, because I was calculating. I didn't scream. I didn't block him. I stayed quiet and started collecting everything he never meant for me to see. After I saw the messages, I sat there for hours. No tears, no rage, just stillness. He always said I was too emotional, but now, I felt nothing. And I think that scared me more than anything. Because silence like that doesn't mean you're okay. It means the part of you that believed is shutting down. When Daniel came over the next night, I watched him. Same smile, same routine, same calm. He sat on my couch, kissed my forehead, and asked if I'd been journaling lately. I nodded. He didn't know I'd started writing about him. He didn't notice I had already moved the laptop, logged him out, changed my passwords. He didn't realize I had printed out everything, the voice notes, the memes, the screenshots. They were sitting in a folder inside my closet. I called it reality, in case I forget. Because sometimes, when you're being manipulated gently, you need receipts to remind yourself it wasn't in your head. Over the next week, I played along. I acted the same, told him stories, laughed at his jokes. And he kept sending my words to her. I know, because I checked again just once. One message stood out. "It's like she's performing emotion, like she's trying to be deep." She replied, "Babe, she's not your patient, babe." So it was that kind of friendship. And suddenly, everything made sense. Why he never wanted to post about me. Why he never introduced me to his close circle. Why his phone was always face down. I wasn't the girlfriend. I was the content. A few nights later, I brought up therapy. Not because I thought he'd go, but because I wanted to watch him react. "I've been thinking of going," I said, "just to process some things." He raised an eyebrow. "You don't need therapy. You need control over your feelings." I smiled. "That's kind of the same thing, isn't it?" He shook his head. "Therapists just tell you what you want to hear. I've been doing that for you already." There it was. The arrogance. The savior complex. He didn't want me to heal. He wanted me to stay needing him. But what he didn't realize, I was already healing through observation. And the more I watched, the more I remembered. He tried to break me quietly. I healed loudly without ever raising my voice. Little comments he used to make. "Why do you always overthink simple things? You look tired today. You should fix your face. You post too much. It makes you look desperate." Each one chipped away at my confidence. And now I could see it clearly. This wasn't love. It was a slow demolition of self-worth done with a soft voice and cold hands. So I made a plan. 1 week. I'd give myself 7 days to collect everything, to cut all TIs, to leave without giving him the drama he fed on. And on the 7th day, I did something small but powerful. I unfollowed her, the girl he was messaging, just to let them know, I see you, and I'm done pretending I don't. He kept giving me advice I didn't ask for while I was planning a life he'd never be part of again. I started moving things little by little, not in a dramatic, suitcase by the doorway, quietly, strategically, like someone slipping out of a cage with the door wide open. One book at a time, one drawer. My toothbrush vanished one day, my favorite hoodie the next. He didn't notice. He was too busy monologuing about emotional maturity. That week, we had dinner at his place. He made pasta, poured wine, sat across from me like he was the expert on all things healthy and healed. At one point he said, "You're getting better. You're not reacting as much anymore. I think you're finally starting to listen." I smiled. He had no idea. What he thought was submission was distance. What he thought was growth was detachment. Because when you've been gaslit long enough, silence becomes a weapon, not against him, for yourself. You stop explaining. You stop defending. You just watch. And when the time is right, you leave. The final trigger came on a Thursday. We were watching a movie, and I laughed out loud, genuinely at a scene. He looked at me sideways and said, "That laugh, it's a little much. You know people notice that, right?" I froze, then smiled again. In that moment, I saw the full cycle. He never hated how emotional I was. He hated that it wasn't his. He wanted to control how I laughed, how I cried, how I reacted. He wanted to be the author of my personality, and I was done being edited. That night, when he fell asleep, I checked one last time. The chat was still active. He'd sent another voice note, not mine this time, but mocking a joke I told earlier. I saved it, not because I needed it, but because I wanted to remember exactly why I left in case I ever questioned myself later. The next morning, I cleaned the apartment, wrote a short note, not angry, not dramatic. Just this. I know everything. I've known for a while. I stayed silent for me, not for you. Whatever version of me you mocked was still the one who loved you. You won't get access to the version that survived you. I left it on the table, next to the plant he gave me. Dead, of course. Never watered. I took my last bag and walked out. Quiet, calm, exactly the way he taught me to be. But this time, it was real. He wanted peace and control. I gave him both by disappearing. He told me to stop being so reactive, so I stopped reacting to him completely. The first message came 2 days later. "Hey, did you forget something here?" No mention of the note. No mention of what he did. Just that same passive tone, like I'd accidentally misplaced myself. I didn't reply. Next day. "Can we talk? This feels sudden." Sudden? He watched me fold myself smaller every month. Watched me shrink my reactions, my voice, my laughter until I barely took up space. The only sudden thing was that I finally left. 3 days later he called. I didn't answer. He texted again. "I know you're upset, but you didn't have to make it a thing." There it was. Still framing me as the dramatic one. Still pretending none of it was serious because to him, it never was. Just entertainment. Just case study energy, as he once joked. But what he didn't know, I wasn't alone anymore. I'd started therapy. Real therapy, not his podcasts or quotes. A real space where I could talk without being turned into a meme. And I'd started journaling again. Not because he gave me a notebook, but because I wanted to hear my voice in my own head again. I was beginning to remember who I was before the quiet erosion. Before every emotion was labeled too much. Before I tiptoed around someone who called control concern. A week after I left, he posted something on his story. A black screen. White text. Some people never appreciate balance until it's gone. I knew it was about me, and still I felt nothing. Because the version of me he remembered, she no longer existed. He had broken her, and in doing so, built someone who would never return. Then came the voice note. Late at night. His voice slow, almost slurred. "You didn't even give me a chance to explain. I know I messed up, but I was trying to help you. You're better now, aren't you?" That's what he said. "You're better now, aren't you?" As if the version of me who finally left him was his achievement. As if silence equals healing, and healing equals permission to take credit. I almost laughed, almost replied, but I didn't. Because nothing kills a narcissist more than being ignored by someone they once controlled. I didn't want revenge. Didn't want him to suffer. I just wanted peace. And peace started the moment I realized I didn't need to prove what he did. The proof was in the plant he left to die. The screenshots I saved. The way I breathe easier now. He taught me how to be quiet. But he never imagined I'd use that silence to disappear from his reach. He called me dramatic. Now he watches me grow from a distance, wondering how I got so quiet without him. Weeks passed. I never replied. He stopped messaging, at least directly. But mutual friends started texting me. He said you ghosted him out of nowhere. He's been acting like you just cracked one day. It was predictable. He couldn't tell the truth because if he did, he'd have to admit he mocked someone who trusted him. Someone who loved him out loud while he studied her like an experiment. So instead, he told a version where I was unstable. Too much. A sweet girl with issues. Classic. But I didn't defend myself. I didn't owe anyone an explanation for a story they weren't part of. Because deep down, I knew. The people who really knew me. They didn't need a PDF of screenshots. They could see I was calmer now. Lighter. Focused. And he could see it too, just not the way he wanted. One night, I posted a photo. It wasn't a thirst trap. Wasn't a look what you lost kind of post. Just me, smiling, holding a cup of tea. That plant, the one he let die sitting in the background, alive again. New pot, new soil, new roots. I captioned it. Some things grow better after you stop explaining why they matter. 15 minutes later, he viewed the story from a fake account. I blocked it, not out of fear, out of mercy, because I know how empty it must feel to watch someone bloom in a garden you left dry. Since then, I've kept it quiet. No messy posts. No I survived him rants. Just distance. Real, irreversible distance. I started seeing someone new, very slowly, and this time, I feel no urge to shrink. No voice telling me to calm down. No sighs when I cry. Just space. And safety. And laughter that doesn't echo in shame. People still ask, did he ever apologize? And I say, no, and honestly, I don't want him to. Because apologies are only useful when you miss who someone used to be. And I don't. Not even a little. He told me I was too much. Turns out, he just wasn't enough. I'm still sensitive. Still emotional. Still me. But now, I protect it. And I never hand it to people who turn my softness into a joke.